Hey there, how you doing? It's Baltimore with Total Geek Live Presents. I am here today with you to talk about Avengers vs. X-Men. That's a 2012 crossover, 12 issues that ran twice a month, an event for Marvel. It was talking about the return of the Phoenix Force, and it was the whole culmination of probably about a 10 years stories that have been going back and forth between the X-Men and the Avengers, leading all the way back to House of M and Avengers Disassembled. But those are stories for a different time. Today we're talking about Avengers vs. X-Men, or commonly known as AvX. So Marvel decided to put together their two premier teams, Avengers and X-Men, and they were going to go at it for the fate of the world, so to speak. So this was basically their 2012 crossover, their event for the year. And I have to say I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I am both an Avengers and an X-Men fan. So I was really thrilled to get this coming off, even though I was not as big a fan of Hope Summers as maybe some other people are. I don't know. So let's say the ground for this series. So it all started a few years ago when Scarlet Witch, an Avenger and a mutant and the daughter of Magneto, decided that she was going to rid the world of mutants. She said the three famous words, "No more mutants." And with that, her spell was cast, and she basically decimated the mutant population, leaving only less than 200 or so mutants around. So they were going against that, and she disappeared, and she went crazy, and she's finally returned for this in this series as the build-up to it began. And the other big part of this is Hope Summers was the first mutant born after this decimation, and that led to a whole bunch of X-Men related events, which we won't get into here. But suffice it to say, Cable has taken her to the future, raised her, and then as she was like 16, 17 or something like that, she decided that she was ready to come back to the present. She comes back here and is ready to take the Phoenix Force and restore order, do whatever it is she's supposed to do as a Phoenix. Except she's a little bit scared about that. She doesn't know if she really wants to do that. So we have a prequel to this event called Avengers X Sanction, which was written by Jeff Loeb with art by Ed McGuinness. And that basically told the story of Cable coming back because he had heard that Hope was in danger and the people who were responsible were the Avengers. So he comes back and single-handedly takes them out one by one until they actually join forces with the X-Men and basically tell them that this isn't really right, and she ends up going with the X-Men back to Utopia. So the big idea about this is the Phoenix Force is coming back. It's took all of its parts from all the people who've held the Phoenix Force, which would be Rachel Gray, it would be Corvus. Anybody who's held the Phoenix Force at any point had a shard of it, and it was returned to the Phoenix, and she was going to come back, and not as Jean Grey. So the Phoenix Force is coming to Earth, and it was going to inhabit Hope Summers, whether she likes it or not. Iron Man and Hank Pym decide that they were going to stop that from happening. So what they decided to do is they were going to create a weapon to destroy the Phoenix once and for all. So that's part of the story here. So then we get into the main crux of it. Phoenix returning. X-Men want Hope to host it because they believe that she's going to help jumpstart the mutant race again and save their mutant kind. So she's scared. She's confused. She doesn't know what's going on. So she asks Wolverine to help her go to the blue area of the moon. Now, the blue area of the moon is an area that actually is hospitable. There's oxygen, there's air, and you can breathe. I mean, of course, the gravity is a little bit different. But it's basically a hospitable part of the moon. And it's also famous for where Phoenix actually died the first time, way back in Uncanny 137. So back to here. She's here. The Phoenix is coming to the moon to come to Hope. Iron Man and his Avengers are going to stop that from happening. He uses his weapon, hits the Phoenix Force with all its might, doesn't destroy it, but splits it into 5. And the 5 remaining pieces go to Colossus, his sister Magic, Namor, Emma Frost, and Cyclops. So they form the Phoenix Five, and they are basically Phoenix in name. They can do everything, but with a fifth of the power. They decide to reform the world, give free energy, provide food, hunger, stop war, stop hatred. So they were doing a lot of, in theory, great things. Although they were taking away a lot of the autonomy and the free will from people. So they were doing all these things, but then not giving anybody choice. Um, the Avengers and the X-Men are still at war with each other. They're still at odds. Hope goes with the Avengers at this point, and she goes to Kunlun to train with Iron Fist. She tries to understand more about the Phoenix Force and prepare for it so she can actually wield it properly and not be overwhelmed and go into a Dark Phoenix, as one does. As what happens most times when people take the Phoenix Force on. So while this is going on, Namor, as part of one of the Phoenix Five, decides to attack Wakanda, Black Panther, all of it, destroying it, lapping all the ocean against them. And it's basically destroyed and devastated. And Phoenix, at this point, he is stopped by the other X-Men, and his Phoenix Force is taken away from him, and it goes into the other force. So they're strengthened by his loss of the Phoenix Force, and he disappears and tries to sulk off. Magic and Colossus at this time are in Siberia, in their native Russia, and Magic has been keeping all the Avengers prisoners in a volcano there that she's created, because she's a little demon sorceress type of thing. And with her power of the Phoenix, she's been able to really, really take them under her control. So we see her and her brother there. The Avengers and X-Men team up to rescue the people that are in there, and in doing so, pit Colossus and Magic against each other, canceling out their Phoenix powers. So their portions of the Phoenix Force go into Emma and to Cyclops. So they are now super empowered. Emma is going crazy with all the power. She's basically her arrogant self punched up quite a bit. And she's forcing people to do things that they may not want to. She's attacking the Avengers. She's attacking X-Men if they aren't compliant. So it's a bad deal. In a similar time, we have Hope in Kunlun, and she absorbs the Iron Fist energy, absorbs the dragon, the power, the chi there, to help her center herself so she can actually take on the Phoenix Force. A joint team of Avengers and X-Men decide to attack Cyclops, who decides to kick Emma to the curb and take her power for himself. So he is the one Phoenix now, and of course Cyclops can't handle it, and he becomes Dark Phoenix. And Charles Xavier at this point is walking. He has the use of his legs again, and is still the preeminent telepath in the world, and decides to confront Phoenix and stop Cyclops once and for all. And to say that it doesn't end well for him is quite an understatement. The student versus the master, and the master's killed. Yes, Cyclops kills Professor Charles Xavier. Kills him dead. And is consumed with the Dark Phoenix energy and cosmic craziness. Wanda and Hope come together to team up to take on the Dark Phoenix, and their power together is able to defeat Phoenix and defeat Cyclops and purge him of the Phoenix essence. They take on the form of Phoenix, both of them, and Hope restores the mutant race, mutant kind, restores the mutant gene in people, and they also prevent any more of the tragedies that were happening. They prevent the world from burning that Phoenix was doing. And Wanda says, a couple more famous words: no more Phoenix. And with that, supposedly, the Phoenix Force is no more. So at the end of this, we have a lot of consequences. We have a lot of things that change the status quo for the Avengers and the X-Men. There is a miniseries after this called AvX Consequences, which deals with Cyclops in jail and him kind of coming to terms with what he did. And he's broken out and he decides to start a revolution, a mutant revolution, so to speak. And with the series this large, you know there's going to be tie-ins. You know there's going to be a lot of intermixing in the titles. And that is absolutely true for this series. There is a wonderful, really fun series that was a companion piece to this called AvX Versus, which is basically all of the people that you'd love to see fight against each other, they do. And in this series, they do that, and it's really awesome. You see Magneto going against Iron Man. You see Daredevil going against Psylocke. Hawkeye and Angel going against each other. You have Magic versus Black Widow. But the one that's really the most important is Storm versus Black Panther. And up to this point, both Storm and Black Panther were married. They were married to each other. And after this, after the destruction of Wakanda, after all this mess and everything, they are basically no more. She leaves her ring there. She decides that they aren't going to be able to reconcile this. And he is really, decides he needs to take his country and focus on that. So that's a really big consequence coming out of this series. The other one is that Cyclops is a killer. He killed the mentor of the X-Men. Professor Charles Xavier is dead. So it's really a big thing that happens. So you have a lot of tie-ins in this event. You have Uncanny X-Men tie-in, Avengers, Secret Avengers, New Avengers, Avengers Academy, X-Men Legacy, and I have to say that's probably one of my favorite of the tie-ins. It was really good. They were protecting the Jean Grey School against the Avengers, and there was a lot of fun little interplay. So that was really cool and fun and interesting. I will say that I really did love this series. I did enjoy it a lot. You should pick it up and read it in all of its parts. And, when they have something of this caliber, there's bound to be little things that bother you, the things that they don't kind of address or they kind of assume you would know and not really kind of delve into. And sometimes that's part of the tie-in issues where they kind of figure something out and then go from there or whatnot. But for me, I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't say, this series could have been easily solved if they just talked to Rachel Summers, whatever you want to call her, Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Prestige now. But if you talk to her, you'd probably solve all of this really easy. She wielded the Phoenix Force much longer than Jean Grey ever did, and without any of the, solar system deaths. So if they would have actually talked to her and dealt with the Phoenix with her, it would have probably been half the size, but I can understand it. Either way, this series was written by Jason Aaron, Brian Michael Bendis, Ed Brubaker, Jonathan Hickman, and Matt Fraction. They were the 5 on this, Phoenix 5, Avengers X-Men 5, kind of fun, with art by John Romita Jr., Olivier Copiel, and Adam Kubert. And the art was amazing. It was beautiful. All the splash pages were amazing. The fights were incredible. The choreography of it, everything about it. I really loved it. It was beautiful stuff and interesting. So I would definitely recommend you taking a look at this and reading it. It's really fun. And I guess that's about it. So check out AvX. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Like, comment, and share with everybody. And as always, it's all geek to us.